Greetings once again, my friends. I am Drak, and I hope everybody's had a wonderful week. We are back for yet another review, and this time I'm actually very happy to bring this one to light because, again, it's another game that I've wanted to be able to talk about and haven't really been able to because I was either collecting footage or working on other things. So, today we're going to be reviewing Batman Episode 1. So, Batman by Telltale, Episode 1, Realm of Shadows. Going into it, I will admit, like in the Drak tries, I was very excited for this game and wanted to see what Telltale would actually do with a Batman title. But I am going to go ahead and state one other quick thing. So people will remember I did Nova Covert Ops Pack 1, and there actually are going to be reviews coming out for Pack 2 and 3. The same thing is going to happen here. I'm going to do the separate episodes and then kind of give my own individual opinions of it. The difference on this is going to be when I get into the next episode, I'm actually going to say, like, what does this add to the story and how is this shaping out to be for the overall. But until all 5 episodes are out, I'm not going to score it because it's one of those things where I get that a lot of people would like individual scores for each of the episodes, but I tend to judge based off of the overall experience, like what the overall story was, what the overall visuals were. So this is going to be more like a check-in more than anything else, like a check-in review, but each episode I'm going to basically instead of the continue segment, because it's an episodic thing, and if I'm taking it, I'm probably going to continue on till the end, unless it, super sucks really bad. Instead of giving like what I continue, it's just how does this add to the overall story, and what does it bring to the excitement of the next episode, things like that. And then we will do the final score on episode 5. Because I believe it's 5 episodes. So just going over really quick, the story is pretty simple. You are Batman, obviously, / Bruce Wayne. The only thing that isn't clear about it is like where in the timeline this is supposed to be. The guess that I have, given the dialogue that's said in the game, is that maybe like Batman maybe has been in the public eye for 2-3 years, like a couple of years. He has the trust of Commissioner Gordon, but at the same time, he's fairly new at this stuff, and Alfred is constantly reminding him of the dangers that now can be present if you start fighting off organized crime, as well as individuals like the Joker kind of thing. They don't hint at him actually coming into contact with the Joker, but Arkham Asylum is hinted as being a very dangerous place and developing some of the worst insane criminals of Gotham. So that's why I'm saying I think this is based a couple of years in, and also it's based around the story arc that's been done, I believe, in the comics a couple of times, and it's also in the plot for The Dark Knight, where Bruce Wayne is trying very hard to get Harvey Dent elected mayor. Obviously, because Bruce Wayne is Harvey Dent's friend, but he also believes that Harvey is the guy that can start cleaning up the streets of Gotham along with Batman, so to speak. When unfortunately his party has been ransacked by Carmine Falcone, which is one of the bigger crime families in Gotham. And depending on now, here's the thing with a Telltale game, choice dictates a lot of how the story is told. So you can easily outright be a dick to Carmine Falcone and say, get the hell out of my house, or you could easily just say, come on in, and then at that point you have all the people at the fundraiser saying, is he colluding with Carmine Falcone? Is the Wayne family as good as they claim to be? So you could easily have those things happen, but I'm going to try and say this as objectively as I can. Carmine Falcone comes to the fundraiser, and depending on how you deal with him, he eventually will leave. But in Rise of Falcone and the campaign and all that stuff, you also begin to have a bigger problem where a mysterious leak in the media has now said that the Wayne family actually does have connections to Carmine Falcone. And so at that point, it becomes Bruce's mission to not only figure out what a just barely discovered in Gotham Catwoman was doing there, especially when she was trying to steal data from the mayor's office, but also trying to figure out what's the connection to this claim that Thomas and Martha Wayne were just as dirty as Carmine Falcone. And that's really where things kind of set up for the story of episode 1. I don't want to go too much further into it for fear of spoilers. And yeah, until like the holidays or whatever, I still want people to play this game. But story-wise, this is really good. This is a really great setup and gives us both a look into Batman as well as into Bruce Wayne. I will admit that the story is more Bruce focused. You spend a lot of time as Bruce and very little as Batman, but that's kind of how a Telltale story is going to do it. They're not, Telltale games aren't usually action-oriented games, and if you're going to play as Batman, you want an action game. So I do like the fact that we had the focus more on Bruce instead of as Batman, even though we did have some great Batman moments. Now, visually, right now I'm going to give it high marks, but it's very clear that this is still in the same Telltale engine that we're all used to. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing because it is translating well into HD. But you could definitely tell that the system probably needs some upgrades in the future. And I'm not saying on every model, but because some models look better and it looked like they were trying to improve the system. But when it came to like Carmine Falcone, I started to notice a lot of the same mouth movements, a lot of the same model gestures, and a lot of the same gameplay that I've seen in previous Telltale entries. Not Walking Dead, but like Wolf Among Us, Sam and Max had the same kind of walk animations in a lot of ways. So I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing. The engine is still translating well, but eventually they are going to need to upgrade things. It is starting to look a little dated. So that's visuals. Gameplay wise, I don't know what to tell you aside from it's a Telltale point and click adventure game. So A, it's episodic. B, it's a point and click adventure. So it holds true to a lot of those staples in that genre. You are pointing, you are clicking. It's more of a story-based game than it is an action-based game. That's why I said that it emphasizes more on Bruce and what he's dealing with instead of Batman. But Batman didn't get left in the dirt. Like a lot when I actually talk to people about Batman by Telltale, I'm like, well, what are you going to do with the Batman segments? Because they're not really action-oriented. Are you just going to get a giant QuickTime event? Which, for the most part, you did. But they also found ways to be able to do point-and-click with Batman. And it worked because when he actually gets to a crime scene, he actually, if people remember from Arkham Origins, they started introducing this concept where he kind of creates the crime scene in his head. They actually do that here too, where he's looking at all the elements and then linking them together to be able to say, okay, this is what happened in this crime scene, and here's where I could find the next piece of evidence. So they did find ways to be able to bring Batman into the mix, and I'm very happy about that because World's Greatest Detective, I want to be able to do some point and click with him as well. But the gameplay is pretty straightforward. You're pointing, you're clicking, you're talking, especially with Telltale. If people are used to The Wolf Among Us or The Walking Dead, I think has the same kind of mechanic. There is a time limit to a lot of the talking segments as well as to the QuickTime events. So if you don't do them, then they, especially with the conversations, they can shape how the game turns out. So at that point, it's pretty much what you would expect from a Telltale point-and-click adventure. I didn't really have any problems with this. In fact, I gave it a little bit more marks because they included Batman in some of the point-and-click segments. Audio-wise, it's good, although I do want to point this out really quick. People might remember when I did Drak Tries of Batman Episode 1, I played on PC. Well, my PC doesn't really translate 1080 very, very well, and so I wanted to be able to get you guys imagery in 1080. So I went console to be able to do that, where I only got Episode 1 on PC, but I got the series on Xbox One. And I will say that while the audio is still good, I still don't have any problems with the voice cast or anything like that. There are a couple of audio hiccups in the console version where music is absent, and I remember very clearly in the PC version it was there. or sounds of a grappling hook going off, and it's blank. So I'm not saying that it's overall bad, but it's definitely something that they need to look into. They need to fix that problem in the console version, and at this point, until that gets fixed, I would recommend PC version for people, because it looks like that's more the finished product. Plus, Telltale is used to doing PC for quite a while now. And then replay value and presentation. I'm not really going to go into these until Episode 5 because it's going to play more into it. I mean, obviously you can replay the episode and go with different dialogue choices and see, like if you played all noble Bruce in one playthrough and then you went all evil Bruce in another playthrough, you could do that. but I want to be able to do that with episode 5 to see whether or not the story shapes out to be something you want to experience again and again. So I'm going to go ahead and skip replay value and presentation for the moment. As for my final thoughts on it, obviously I'm continuing to episode 2, but the story right now is shaping out to be really, really, really good. As far as the big reveals, maybe I'll go into them on episode 2 because they're going to be a little bit more relevant. So that's going to go ahead and do it for this review of Batman Episode 1. I'm very excited to get into Episode 2 with you guys and to have you guys join me on this journey. But until next time, I'm Drak, and I will see you for the next video.